Let's talk about exploiting permissions. Access control lists are essential component of IT infrastructure security. By assigning permissions to different users and groups, ACLs regulate access to files, directories, and objects, but when misconfigured or misused, they become a serious security risk, potentially giving access to sensitive data or even allowing malicious actors to gain entry. This topic will introduce the concept of ACL abuse and provide hands-on experience of how to exploit misconfigured ACLs. We will also look into techniques employed by attackers who exploit such vulnerabilities and discuss ways that organizations can protect themselves from these threats. Understanding ACL abuse. ACL abuse involves exploiting misconfigured or excessively permissive access control lists in a system to gain unauthorized access or commit illegal actions within it. Attackers may use various techniques and tools to exploit ACLs. In order to gain unauthorized access, escalate privileges, modify permission, or execute commands unauthorized by their original design. Bloodhound, an Active Directory permission mapping application, helps attackers pinpoint potential attack vectors by visualizing users, group, and object relationships, making it easier for attackers to identify misconfigured ACLs that could enable privilege escalation. We used Bloodhound earlier to uncover multiple attack paths. Let us revisit them now. In the Pentester machine, let us open the Bloodhound application from the taskbar. As we had already configured it, it should start automatically. Now let us go to the Analysis tab and see the shortest path to domain admins from owned principals. Here we can see that Bloodhound identified 3 paths, it might be even 2 in some cases. This does not matter as the path we want to exploit now is from the user Katerina Nana to domain admins. Let us visualize it better, pinpointing the exact path. For that, expand the More Info navigation bar if it is closed and put in the user as Katerina Nana for the start node. Now click on the Pathfinder icon and set the target node as domain admins. Once that is set, click on the Find Path icon to show that particular path. You can change the layout for better visualization. On observing that path, we can see that the path is filled with misconfigured permissions which we will be exploiting to get to the domain admin. Exploiting permissions in Windows red teaming is a common technique used by attackers to gain elevated privileges on a target system. During red teaming engagements, it can lead to various attack vectors and potential exploitation points. This can be done by leveraging misconfigured permissions, vulnerabilities in softwares, and other weaknesses. Let us now examine examples of how attackers exploit permissions within Windows red teaming. AD object security permissions can be misused to gain unauthorized access or perform malicious acts within an organization's network. Particularly vulnerable to abuse are some AD object security permissions that are combined with tools like PowerView. Let's examine some of these permissions as well as potential abuse techniques. Let's start with generic all. This permission grants all rights to an object. However, an attacker could take advantage of this by running command like set domain user password or add domain group member in order to gain complete control over user accounts or group memberships. Next up, we have generic right. This permission can update an object's attribute. By abusing generic right with set domain object, an attacker could potentially modify various attributes of an AD object and cause privilege escalation. Now let's talk about right owner. Abuse of right owner with set domain object owner can allow an attacker to gain full ownership rights over an object by changing the owner. By abusing right owner permission with the set domain object owner command, an attacker could potentially acquire full control over this Active Directory or AD object. Next up, we have right DACL. This can give an attacker full control over an object by altering its access control lists. Right tackle can be exploited using add domain object ACL command for even greater power. An attacker could then modify an AD object's discretionary access control lists and potentially gain additional permissions by doing so. Next, let's talk about all extended rights. This permission can grant users the power to add computers, add or remove members from a group, reset their passwords, or add users to an existing one. As with the generic all permission, all extended rights permission can also be abused with the commands like set domain user password and add domain group member to gain control over multiple user accounts or group membership. Now let's talk about force change password. This permission grants the ability to change user password without authentication, which could allow an attacker to gain entry and change them at will. With PowerView's set domain user password command, this permission could easily be abused by attackers who wish to change any given user's password without their knowledge or authentication. Now let's talk about add member. This permission grants the ability to add members to a group. Using the add domain group member command, an attacker could abuse this permission to join domain groups illegally and gain unauthorized access. In this lab, we are going to explore and try to exploit most of the above access control entries. It's worth familiarizing yourself with all the bloodhound edges and as many Active Directory extended rights as possible, as you never know when you may encounter a less common one during an assessment. Now let us see how we can exploit these misconfigured ACLs to gain privileges in the domain. Open Bloodhound and observe the path. We can see that the user Katerina Nana is a member of the senior management group. Since the users are already members, we don't need to do anything further there. Moving on, if we look at senior management group, it has generic all rights to the office admins group. Let us see what this means. Bloodhound provides a help option for all the paths along with the commands on how to abuse them. To see that, right click on the path and select help. Here we can find information about the ACL generic all. That is, members of the senior management group have full control over the office admins group and can manipulate it however they want. The easiest way to gain control over this group is to add a user to it. We can add our user pentester to the office admin group. But only the members of the senior management group can add users to the office admins group. Right now, we are the user pentest, as seen by the output of the whoami command, who is not a part of the senior management group. In order to add a user to the office admins group, we need to have a session as Katerina Nana, who is a part of the senior management group. There are multiple ways of spawning a session as another user. Here we will use the run as command to open a partial session as Katerina Nana. Run as is a Windows built-in command that can execute a program under a different user account. When combined with the net-only flag, this program will execute on the local computer as the user you are currently logged on as. But any connections to other computers on the network will be made using the user account specified. Using this, we can open a PowerShell session and execute commands as Katerina Nana on the domain. To do that, run the command run as /netonly/user and specify the user with whose privileges we want to spawn the program. Here it is Katerina Nana. Make sure that we provide the NetBIOS name of the user in securecorp.local/Katerina.Nana, and in the end, the program we want to execute, which is PowerShell. We can see that a new PowerShell window spawns up and it will execute commands as the user Katerina Nana. Now let us abuse generic all ACL and add the user pentester to the office admin group. The easiest way is to directly add the user using the built-in net command net group office admins, then the name of the user pentester /add/domain. Here we can see that the command has been executed successfully. Let us confirm if the user has been added by listing the members of the office admins group using net group office admin/domain. Here we can see that we have successfully added the user pentester to the office admins group. To do this, open PowerShell and navigate to the tools directory on the desktop. Here we can find a compiled binary of the whiskers tool. Since we have already added pentester to the office admins group, we can directly perform the attack. We can update the attribute by running the command whiskers.exe add and the user as the target using the /target option, now the user ID Kyle. This updates the attribute and provides us with a Rubius command to extract the NTLM hash of the user. Rubius is a post-exploitation tool that focuses on Kerberos ticket manipulation and abuse. You can either compile Rubius from the GitHub repo or use the compiled binary provided. Run the command obtained from Whisker with Rubius. We can see that the Rubius authenticated to the KDC as the user ID Kyle and extracts the NTLM hash of the user. Let us try cracking the hash obtained using John. Go over the Kali Linux machine and paste the hash in a file. Now run the following command John with the format NT using the raw queue word list along with the hash file. We can see that the hash was cracked and we obtained the clear text password of the user ID Kyle. Let us add this to our note to be used later. Let's move on to the next hop in Bloodhound. Here we can see that the user ID Kyle can add themselves to the accountant group with the add self ACL. In order to do that, we need to spawn the session for the user ID Kyle. Previously we had used the runas command to do that. Now we will use Rubius to ask for a TGT for the user ID Kyle and then cache it so that we can use it consecutively in further sessions. For that, we will run the command Rubius ask TGT /user ID Kyle /password and then specify the password. And paste the password of the user that we had previously cracked and use the flag /ptt to pass the ticket and store it in a cache. Once we obtain the TGT, we can verify it by running klist to see the Kerberos ticket. We can indeed see that ticket for the user ID Kyle. Now we can add the user to the accounting group. Previously we used the net command to add. Now we will use the AD module to do so. For that, we use the one-line command provided in the GitHub repo to load the module into memory. Once that is done, we can add the user id.kyle to the accounted group. By running the command add AD group member with the flags identity to specify the group name accounting and the members to specify the users to be added, which is id.kyle. Now let us confirm that the user has been added by running the command net group. Yes, the user has indeed been added to the group. Let us move on to the final path for this module. Going back to the Bloodhound graph, we can see that the content group has right owner ACL on the user Florence Felice. In the help information, we can see that this ACL can essentially modify the owner of the user, Florence Felix, thereby gaining complete control over the object, and therefore can change its attribute such as reset the user's password. Since the group accountant has right on the privileges on the object, it means that any member of the group will also inherit the privileges. So we can use our compromised user Eddie Kyle, who is now a part of the accounting group, to reset the password of the user Florence Felix. We will use the Power BI module to achieve this. Before that, we need to store the credential of the user Eddie Kyle in a variable to be passed along in order to execute the command as that user. Note that all the commands used in this section is provided in the description below. We will first need to convert the plain text password of the user to a secure string to be passed along with the credentials. For that, we will create a variable password and store the password of the user Eddie.Kyle as a secure string using the command convert to secure string with the password Winnie the Pooh and the flags as plain text and the force flag. Now we will store the credential of the user in a variable creds by running the command new object system.management.automation.ps credential. Along with the net BIOS name of the user Eddie.Kyle as well as the password variable. Now that we have created the credential variable for the user Eddie.Kyle, let us now use Power View to change the user's password. For that, load Power View from the tools folder if not already. First, we need to change the owner of the user Florence Felix and set it as Eddie.Kyle. Then as the owner, we will assign the user Eddie.Kyle the rights to reset password, and finally change the credential of the user. In a real-world penetration test, resetting a user's password may not be allowed due to the potential for causing instability within the environment. This action would likely be prohibited by the rules of engagement in a production environment. This is shown just for demonstration purposes. Using the command let set domain object owner, let us change the owner of the user Florence Felix by passing in usernames along with the identity flag as well as the name of the owner. To be set with the owner flag identity flag along with the credits variable using the credentials flag. Next, we will give the owner id.kyle the rights to reset the password. For that, we will use the command let add domain object ACL with the target identity as Florence Felix. The principal identity as Eddie Kyle with the rights to reset password along with the credentials. Now the user Eddie.Kyle can reset the password. In order to set a new password, we will need to convert it into a secure string. Here we will be storing it in a new variable pass. Now we can reset the password of the user Florence Palace. We can use the command let set domain user password with the identity as the username and account password as the pass variable set. We have successfully changed the password of the user Florence Palace. Let us now save the new password in our notes. For OPSEC considerations, setting the owner of an object as any other user other than the test user might trigger alerts in the environment. So I recommend to try out this attack again with the pentest user. We still have one path left, which is DC sync. We had already discussed about this attack earlier during the IPv6 DNS takeover scenario. We will see how to dump the hashes using this in a later module.